Welcome back to another episode of Just Add Movement. I'm Erin Anderson, and I am so excited to get to jam today with the wonderful Etai Nahary. Etai is a certified intuitive human design guide and teacher. Etai holds multiple master's degrees, including a master's in transpersonal psychology and a master's in post-Holocaust literature. Etai describes himself as insatiably curious with a passion for understanding and being understood. Etai plays his word in the sandbox of 8 to 10 languages, and he brings that same spirit of play and deep listening to human design, which he sees not as a fixed system, but as a storytelling tool. This is a tool where we get to choose the most resonant and empowering story about ourselves in this moment. Etai, welcome.
It's an honor and a privilege to be here. Thank you so much for having me in this space, for allowing me to co-create with all of you.
I'm so excited. So obviously, Etai is bringing so much richness to our conversation today, and there are so many different ways this conversation can go. So let's dive in because I know we're going to discover so much.
Let's go.
So, Etai, question number 1 is, what do you know to be true about the body based on your body of work?
Based on my body of work, I know one very simple thing, that I am privileged to have a body. And it's taken me such a long time to get to that point because, well, we all of us have a experience in our bodies and stories about our bodies that we develop throughout our years as we are embodied. But having been born disabled with spastic quadriplegic CP and being a wheelchair user my entire life, my body was, and still is to many in many ways, something that I've always had to work against or in spite of or at cross purposes to. And it's only fairly recently, and I couldn't tell you exactly when, but I do know that a lot of it has to do with the advent of human design coming into my life and a lot of the inner work that I've done in and around my transpersonal degrees and so forth. I have sat with clients in the therapeutic setting as well previously, right? So I've done a lot of inner work. But I'm finally to the point where I am more and more able to believe, right, that I get to have a body and that it's a privilege to have a body because not everybody gets to have a body. So that's what I know.
So I had not yet invited us to take a collective breath together. And I think this moment really deserves one because I'm so honored for you to share your experience of what you know to be true about your body. I am very aware of the differences in our ways of moving through the world, you and I, even just as two people. And so we get to dance together in this virtual space, and it's so much fun because you bring so much movement energy to your contributions in discussions and conversations and the questions you ask. So I'm curious, you describe this very strong identity. How has that impacted how you show up as a counselor or as an intuitive human design teacher? Like how are you in relationship with your body as you work?
That's a very interesting question. And I, as I say, I keep coming back to this idea of, and this is not my idea necessarily. I got the idea from um, a previous poet laureate in the United States. I don't know if you know of them, Andrea Gibson. They had, oh, you know them, okay. And if you listen to, I mean, they've allegedly um, reintegrated. They've allegedly, that's their words, right? Uh, and they they have this idea of they have experienced cancer, and that was their experience, right? And it was in one of their interviews that I heard them say, and it was a question of how do you get through, all the moments that are harder, and how do you stay so present and so aware and so much, how do you, where is the joy, right? How do you, because that's what they really embodied. And they said, this whole thing is I get to have a body. I get to sit here. We get to sit here and have this conversation. We get to sit here and take a pause, right? We get to sit here and breathe. Uh, our audience gets to sit here and listen. You know, this is all part of having a body, right? And I suppose the ever since I heard that the first time, that's sort of been how I have begun to integrate that. So I don't know if that answers the question, but that's where I go with it.
I love where you're going with it. And you can't get it wrong, right? Because in a conversation, I mean, it is dynamic and there's movement. And so
Yeah,
you took us into this beautiful movement around I get to. And I imagine you show up like that in your work. Um, Using human design to help people find the most empowering story they can tell themselves.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I have in my chart, I have the gate 46 in my, where is it? It's in my conscious Venus, which in the gene keys is in my IQ, and
Mm,
the um, so the gene key has three frequencies to it: the shadow frequency, the gift, and then the city, right? So in the shadow frequency of the 46, we have seriousness, where everything is more serious, more heavy, and the gift frequency is delight, right? And then you have in the city frequency, you have ecstasy. So, and I have been, uh, I suppose the best word is channeling for the last little while here, mantras that go with each of the gene keys. And so the mantra that I have for the 46 gene key is this one. It's the key to delight, right?
mm,
Delight being the gift frequency, is I get to.
mm.
So we get to sit here. I get to talk about this. You get to listen to this. We get to move together. We get to be together, right? So I get to. And so that's how that works.
It's it's so clear that you're a teacher and that you love human design. You know, I'm bringing in all different kinds of people to share about their work. And
Mhm.
I, because I know some of our listeners don't know anything about human design, how would you just very simply frame your work so that someone can relate with everything you just shared about gene keys, for example?
How do I how do I very simply frame being in the present moment with somebody? Um,
Ah,
I do my best to provide a space, very much like we're doing here, to just to provide a space where anything and everything can come up, to be examined, to be processed, to be danced with, to be moved with, and we see what it is. I call, a lot of people will call what they do with human design readings, right? You'll hear a lot of, oh, the human design reading and human design analyst. I call it explorations. When you come to me for, to sit with a human design chart, uh, I don't know what's going to happen. Very much like I don't know what's going to happen here. We explore together, and we see where it takes us. I see, as you mentioned, I see human design primarily, and I guess the easiest way to say it is as a storytelling tool, because the only thing that I've realized that I really have control over, essentially, is the way that I respond to life and what happens. And there isn't much that I can do physically on my own, but what I can control is the story that I tell myself around what happens, right? And I do a lot of reframing around that. Reframing is a tremendous is a key to the work that I do. Right? You as a therapist, I know, we have the same background, so reframing is a very, common tool that we have in our toolbox. So basically, I see the human design chart as a tool to, because every chart, let's put it this way, every chart holds within it, an infinite number of stories, right? And our job, or the invitation of every chart, is to find the story that we find most empowering in that moment and go with it.
Mm.
So essentially, and again, human design is can be complicated beyond belief, right? Those of us who know, but that's the essence to which I just distill it. Yeah.
So this is a perfect topic to use to transition to talking about threshold moments, because what I got from your diving into reframing, which is, very alchemical, like I could look
It
at it
can be,
this
yes.
way or that
It
way.
can be. It can be, yeah.
And so I just was imagining, um, with what you were sharing about reframing, and we get to it made me go, oh, I'm totally using this to transition us to talk about thresholds, because, you know, I choose to frame it as a threshold moment rather than um, transition or change, although those are other words we could use. I
Absolutely.
like to frame it as threshold. So,
Hmm.
how are you framing a moment that you're living through professionally or personally right now? Because so much of these conversations is to help others who listen to be able to relate and go, yeah, I mean, I'm in this moment and it's a
Right.
big deal and it's important and it's significant and I want to feel understood through it. So I'm wondering, to the extent that you're comfortable, would you be willing to share a threshold moment you're leaning into and living through and moving into?
So I told you that I was going to surprise you here a couple of times during our conversation, and I think this is one of those moments where potentially I'm going to surprise you, because I I see thresholds very much similarly, if I'm hearing you correctly, to the way you do. Every moment that we have, right? Eckhart Tolle talks about the now, the power of now, the power of the present moment. Every moment I see as a threshold moment.
Mm.
And the more that we can be aware of this moment as a threshold moment, this moment as the moment where we can start something, and when this moment ends, another cycle ends, right? The 5342 channel is all about cycles, as some of us may know in the chart, right? So every moment is really a threshold moment. And if and the more I'm aware of it, the more present I can be.
Mm.
I know that isn't necessarily how others have answered it before, but I told you it would surprise you. So there, you know.
It's perfect. And I actually don't feel surprised. I'm like, of course. Like this makes so much sense in my body. It feels true.
Does it resonate? It resonates. Good.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Be and what I'm curious about with you, the word that came up as you shared that was it makes life meaningful. It makes moments more meaningful. And I that's the story I just made up about it. How
Mm-hmm.
is it for you to think of every moment as a threshold moment that you get to be present for?
Well, every moment is really, is really a universe in and of itself. Judaism talks about, and I was raised Jewish, and there was a time where I wanted to be a rabbi. That's a longer story in and of itself, but so I had that is where basically where I'm coming from. But Judaism holds that not only every life is a universe in and of itself, and I kind of take that on as well. Every moment, every yeah, every moment, every now is or has the potential to be a new moment, a new universe, a universe in and of itself. And I never know, the more I can, and this is a challenge, but the more I can come to it with a beginner's mind, with a don't know mind, right? Beginner's mind is a concept that we know from Buddhism, right? Very, very difficult to do, right? Because we have expectations and all this, but in those few moments where I can absolutely come and say, I have no idea what's happening now. Let's explore. Let's see together. Right? That there's nothing better than that. Right?
Mm.
So and that is you come and you go from universes this
Mm.
way.
Wow. I mean, that really, I notice in my own body feeling like that slowed me down and
Mm.
opened me up to, it feels like infinite wisdom has just arrived in
The
this
hon-
moment.
the honor is to serve.
Mm.
If I quote unquote do my job correctly, all I am is a channel. If there is a correct way to do this, it's just I'm present, get out of the way, and whatever happens, happens
Mm.
in any given moment.
Mhm.
Yes,
And
it's
it's a
me,
new
but
moment.
yes, it's me, but I'm not there. I'm there, but I'm not. I'm there as sort of a container. But if the more I can get out of the way, the better.
Yeah, and now I'm just finding myself new moment,
Yeah,
new moment.
yeah.
It's creating a both a blankness and an openness.
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
What are you finding in this moment? What's new in this moment?
What's new in this
What catches your attention in this moment? Let's ask it that way.
novelty?
Uh-huh. It's a new moment, isn't it?
Yes, that can be lived differently than before.
That we get to experience.
Mm,
We didn't have a guarantee that we would experience this moment. We get to do that. Isn't it amazing?
it is amazing.
Delightful, isn't
I can really feel the delight emanating from you, that
it? Mm-hmm.
you are congruent with the words you're speaking.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, all of that is found in can be found in so many different places. But for me, it's that gene key 46, my IQ, that, that
Mm.
we that we talked about before. Right?
So this has been bubbling up for me. I really admire that you are a linguist of sorts, right? That you have this multilingual approach to the spoken word, and yet language is so nonverbal as well.
It can be. Yeah.
Um,
It's energetic. It really is what it is. It's frequency. Yeah.
yes, and so I'm
Words
not
are
sure.
frequency. Yeah.
There's a question I have for you related to creating new moments with
Hmm.
language and the body. Something has been percolating inside of me, but there are no words. It seems,
There often aren't words.
yes,
There
I
often
find that
aren't.
to be true.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
I just wanted to normalize that. So if people were starting to look for words, what are words? There often aren't words, and that's fine.
when you're looking for words, what language are you looking in?
Oh, it depends. You
Wow.
know, I off, Hebrew, English, German, French. I I never know. It's just whatever pops in.
Wow. And there's a different frequency when it pops in. And
Yeah,
so to me, energy, frequency, that's all movement. And so,
absolutely.
each body speaking a different language moves differently.
Yeah.
Um, so this is our kind of transitional moment into movement through this idea of energy and frequency of words. Um, but I want to invite us into a new moment where we get to really open up to what is your body telling you in this moment, right? What is the communication that is present?
I've had a question for myself that I sit with for a very, very long time, especially ever since I've sat with and human design has found me, because one of the primary tenets of human design, whether you learn it through traditional or whether we learn it through Annalena, as we have, through the evolutions of it, is you hear get out of your head and into your body. Now, for me, getting out of my head and into my body is has been a challenge because I spend a lot of time in on the mental plane. So my question really has become, how do I move energy? You know, how do I move energy? How do I move energy through the sacral? How do I move it? The energy that exists, how do I move it? For me, it's my voice.
Mm,
For me, it's humming. For me, it's mm, uh, that things like that move energy, right? It's not moving energy in the same way that you would dance the energy or that, but the energy has to find a way to move. And that's how I move energy.
beautiful. Well, and we just the interview prior that you have not yet experienced, we have a frequency sound healer. So
Ah,
so this is a great follow-up from that conversation that was just previous to
I
this
can't
one
wait to
we're
hear
having
it.
now. Yes. And so to that end, I'd love to invite us into a sacred pause and a couple of minutes to, for people if they want to hear something specific musically, great, you can put that on. But I want to give space and time for us to be in this moment, moving energy together, however it comes out through the mouth, through the arms or the head, like however.
Mhm.
And then we circle back and see what your body knows to be true right now after
Good.
that. So, inviting everyone to take this moment to become even
Mm.
just a little bit more
Mm.
present to the moment
Mm.
to move.
Ah. Mm. Oh. Mm. Mm. Hmm. Um, hmm. Hmm.
Etai, what do you notice? What did you get to connect with that the conversation and the moment had not yet touched or revealed
Hmm.
yet?
My experience of the world, I don't know oftentimes what it's like to to be in contact with the ground because I sit in a wheelchair that is by necessity raised from the ground. I have footrests, so grounding for me is not a common experience. We're talking about grounding, but when I do these humming exercises, these vocalizations, this is how I ground. So in this moment, I know in my own way, grounding. So this is what I know right now.
Mm.
And what do you know in this moment?
I love to move to sounds.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I found that I just wanted to come around and over and like make a shape that was rounded
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
through hearing the sounds you were making
Mm-hmm.
so that my body was responding to sound.
Most of the
And
time my eyes were closed, so I didn't exactly see what you were doing, but I'm glad it resonated.
mhm, my eyes were closed as well. And that's the magic of the moment of moving together, where we
Mm-hmm.
don't have to be in contact with each other in obvious ways, yet we
Yeah.
are connected by the energy or the present moment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What surprised you about this exploration that maybe you could not have prepared for?
The joy of it, just the joy of being here and being able to do this and being able to connect with you and being able to connect with the audience and the privilege that it is. Yeah, that 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 was that's the most fulfilling part of this for me.
Mm.
The degree of joy, the degree of alignment.
Yes, and as you say, joy and alignment, my body sees choreography. That's how I'm wired. And
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you just called us into something through that joy and alignment. And I want to offer that back to you to see, is there anything else you'd like to invite us into or lead us through before we transition to the end of our conversation?
Uh, I actually feel quite complete at this moment.
Mm, beautiful.
Also surprising. I'm happy about it, but I usually I tend to be overly verbose, and in this moment I was able to get out of the way and allow the words to come as they needed to come.
Mm.
In this moment I feel complete. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. That feels like a tremendous gift to all of us receiving, that each one of these conversations, and this one in particular, is an opportunity to witness someone modeling something very unique and sacred and special. And I really have experienced you modeling presence.
Thank you. That's to me, when you say that, it's an indication that I'm really and truly living my design consciously, and there's nothing better than that.
I like how you're
I'm
saying
doing
it.
what I'm supposed to do.
Yes. More joy and alignment.
You know.
And I
Absolutely.
think also a word that is used a lot now is that sounds very embodied.
You wanted to know what surprises me. That surprised me. Because embodied is something that has been up until fairly recently such a foreign concept to me, and to hear it reflected back that what we have done here in this space comes across as embodied is wonderful, is exactly the point, but is also extraordinarily surprising to me. So there you have an answer to what surprised me. I didn't know in the moment, but now there you have it. You got
Thank
your
you.
answer.
Yes. There is so much gratitude, Etai. Let
Likewise.
us take a collective breath together to mark this completion. I want to thank you for being here with us. I want to thank everyone listening, watching, being with us. It is not taken for granted, and there is so much gratitude for this connection we can create together. So much love and movement. Until next time.